Greetings, timeshare travelers. It's a timeshare traveler, and today I'm doing a comparison of 3 timeshares on Maui. In the top, you can see the Worldmark Valley Isle. Just below that is the Westin Kaanapali, and the third that I'll be reviewing further on down is the Worldmark Kihei. Before I get into that, I'll tell you a little about my channel, and then I'll go into the details around the comparisons. Happy timeshare traveling. Hi, this is Cliff, and I'm your timeshare traveler. The goal of my YouTube channel is improving your timeshare travels. I'll do this through timeshare video reviews, tips for using timeshares, and much, much more. I can be found on Facebook at TimeshareTrav, Twitter at TimeshareTrav, and on the web at www.timesharetraveler.com. And if you like my videos, don't forget to click subscribe below. From my channel information. So first let me talk about the comparison criteria, and these are just my comparison, and I'm kind of a balanced person. I like a balance between costs and everything, so I tried to reach across 5 different categories that I thought were reasonable when added together. And my choices were close to the beach, the cost to stay there, and I take that by maintenance fees per night effectively, and then what was the quality, or you could call that luxury if you want to call that, but it's really the quality where that sits in it. And then close to shops food, so given your timeshare and you want to get to the food so you can cook in your unit or use the barbecue, I thought that was important. And then the other topic, which was I call natural Hawaii, and that really is I don't want to really be in a tourist trap, so I kind of want to do this so that it feels like I'm in Hawaii as something more than a tourist, but I get to see some of the local things. Okay, so first up is the Westin Kaanapali North. I happen to stay in a studio there, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. But in my case, I had paid extra points, and I got this amazing sunsets, and I'll link again to the review so you can see the sunsets, and I may insert one in here depending on I don't want it to take too long. And then again, another thing that's amazing about the Westin Kaanapali is they had multiple swimming pools at multiple levels, almost like a waterfall from one to the next, and so it was very luxurious, and man, I can't say it was really nice. The grills were available and high quality, and they are also close to the kiddie pool, which I thought was a really good thing. That way you could sort of grill, and if you had small children, you weren't sort of penalized. You were able to actually do that. And then they had on-site restaurants, and they had live music, which was great. And I mean, the accommodations were just amazing, and then staff was great. Actually, I would say that staff in general across all of the timeshares was really good, but definitely the Westin was great place to stay. And again, I mentioned the huge and multiple pools. So that's kind of the overview of the Westin Kaanapali North. And I'll do jump to the next one. Here's the sunset view on oceanfront studio in the Westin Kaanapali in Lahaina, Maui, Hawaii. What a beautiful room. I chose the studio over the 1 bedroom just for the view. Okay, next up is the Worldmark Kihei, and what I liked about that, and I thought was great, was it's a beach town with great sunset views. I had for whatever reason I got lucky, and I had a sunset view from my deck, and it was kind of it's a kind of a local beach town, so you get a lot of local Hawaii. You get a lot of people from tourists, but they're mixed with a lot of locals as well. As far as the beach access, it's across the street. Food shops, tons of them, great places to eat, and I think I did a video on some places to eat in Kihei. In fact, I know I did. And they're all within walking distance, so it's less than a half mile to a mile max, but mostly within even a quarter mile. So And then they had a nice pool and a large hot tub. Not as nice as the Westin Kaanapali by far, but it was still a valid. And they had quite a large selection of grills. So the Westin had a lot, but not as many as the Worldmark Kihei. So I'm a griller, I'm a thriller. No, just kidding. I'm a griller, so that was important to me. Okay, on to the next one. View from the balcony of the Worldmark Kihei on the 4th floor, building 5. Beautiful sunset, just sitting out on the deck. Okay, so let's talk about the Worldmark Valley Isle. It's right on the beach. In fact, no air conditioning, so you had your windows open at night and you could hear the waves crashing. It was just really, really cool. No air conditioning, like I said, but it felt like, this was like one of the early resorts. It felt like old Hawaii. The pool was really small. The grills were amazing. There weren't a lot of them, but I did not have a problem using them. And the views were fabulous. I mean, literally you could lie in bed and sit up in bed like you were reading, but you could actually see out the window and see the ocean and even the beach. So it was really, that part was really, really great on the Valley Isle. So those are the three. Now, what you all have been waiting for is the comparison. The Valley Isle, Worldmark Valley Isle in Maui, Hawaii. Sunset. Just sitting by the water's edge. Okay, now we're back to go through what you all have been waiting for, which is the comparison. So let me just go from the beach distance. You can see that I put the Westin Kaanapali as 2, and where 1 is the lowest and 3 is the highest. So the Worldmark Kihei, since you had to go across the street, that was not really a burden, but it was the farthest from the ocean. The Valley Isle, you just basically left the hotel and you were on the beach. The Westin Kaanapali, you left the hotel, you kind of had to go over a berm, and then you were on the beach. So that's why I ended up ranking them with the Valley Isle the best, Kaanapali next, and the Worldmark Kihei. Okay, and then the next thing is I took my maintenance fees and calculated how much it would cost per night. And so I put, to me, the lower cost is a value statement to me, and I'd rather stay more weeks for the same amount of money. It's just my general. You might be different, but anyway, I ranked both the Worldmark Kihei and the Valley Isle, and I looked at 1 bedroom just so I was across the board the same, and the Westin Kaanapali was $300 a night. So I gave 3s to the Worldmark Kihei and Valley Isle, and a 1 to the Westin. Close to shops and food. It was about, it was a mile for the Valley Isle, a half mile or less for the Worldmark Kihei, and about 3/4 a mile for Kaanapali. So I gave 3 to Worldmark Kihei, 2 to Kaanapali, and 1 to the Valley Isle. And again, this might not matter to you, because if you're planning just to eat at the hotel, then the Westin you would have a different set of rankings. Quality, I hope I made that clear in my sort of talks about the individual ones, but the quality is the Westin is best. I mean, you're paying $300 a night, one would hope so, but so I gave that to top quality. And the Worldmark Kihei, I gave a better quality just because you had the choice of air conditioning, you had a lot more grills, so I would say the quality overall was nice. And even though this is where the Worldmark Valley Isle was not quite as good, I mean, it had a wonderful Hawaii feel, but again, from a quality perspective, the old Hawaii kind of view kind of knocked it down a bit. So going to the natural Hawaii, Kaanapali felt like very much even though the quality was the top, the natural Hawaii probably was the least a natural Hawaiian. It was probably the most tourist-centered one. And then the Worldmark Kihei, I gave it, even though the Valley Isle is kind of located and feels like that, with all the sort of beach stuff for the locals and stuff, I felt like I was much more with locals, even though there was a lot of people that were tourists. I felt like there was a lot of local people also enjoying the bars and the food and coffee and so forth. So it felt like the most. And then I put the Valley Isle as sort of in the middle. And so when you add up all those numbers, you get 9 for the Westin Kaanapali North, 12 for the Worldmark Kihei, and 10 for the Valley Isle. So I would rank the Worldmark Kihei as best based on my criteria, and then followed by the Valley Isle and Kaanapali North. I would, however, if I were in a different situation where I just had 1 week of vacation and I wanted a luxurious place to stay and the money was less of an issue, I would have probably restructured this a bit, and the Westin Kaanapali North would have definitely been the top choice. But the costs and sort of the natural Hawaii were things that I sort of valued when I was doing my ranking. So that's why I ended up with that as the ranking. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you do, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel.